Hey guys, how's it going? In this video, I'm going to show you how I designed and built this plywood storage rack. I work out of the primary bedroom of my condo, so space efficiency is always my top priority. The goal was to utilize vertical storage space and create a rack with a small footprint that could accommodate everything from full-sized sheets to various sizes of offcuts. So I came up with this triangular design with adjustable shelves that allows me to lean larger sheets on the front while providing two-sided access to everything inside. The final dimensions of this were ultimately determined by what I was able to fit in my building's elevator, like all of my projects. But yeah, if you want to see how I threw this thing together, keep on watching. With my design laid out, I headed to my local Windsor Plywood to pick up 3 sheets of 18mm birch plywood. Everyone likes to make fun of a guy driving a minivan until they need to move a full 8x4 sheet, which is a breeze with the front seats pushed all the way forward. Who's laughing now? Getting these from the car up into my condo was a lot more awkward than it looks, and if it was windier out, this could have ended in disaster. I ended up using every type of dolly I have, and none of them worked particularly well. I learned that when moving large, heavy sheet goods, it's critical to have a cart that allows them to balance freely. Otherwise, you end up having to balance and steer at the same time, which is super awkward. This experience highlighted the importance of having a dedicated sheet goods trolley, which is the next thing I'm going to build after this. This was also the point where I realized that I can't fit a full sheet of plywood inside my elevator, so I ended up laying down some foam panels right here, and I cut 16 inches off of each sheet. With my wood unloaded, it was time to really start cutting. This was a good opportunity for me to test out my fancy new dashboard workbench, which I was able to justify spending a small fortune on because of how much money I figured I'd save by doing my own kitchen renovation later this summer. I basically treat every DIY project as an excuse to buy a new tool. I still ended up spending a lot of time on the floor, but that's because I was mainly doing narrow cuts off of large sheets. The feature on this bench that I did really appreciate for this project was the leg supports. Combined with the parallel guides, it made all of this domino joinery very straightforward, even on super narrow pieces. Here I am installing my patented reverse 7-degree domino ankle guide, which worked great. Now, at least one of the 5 people who sees this video is going to give me grief about using a domino when I'm just screwing this together in the end anyway. I use the domino as much as an alignment tool as an actual joinery tool. The way it straightens things out and holds pieces in place makes assembly so much easier, especially if your parts are bowed or if clamps aren't an option. Next, I laid out where I'd be drilling the holes for the shelves. I opted for this C-bracket design in order to aid with assembly and avoid screwing into the end grain of the shelves, which could cause the plywood to split under load. It also made it pretty easy to make the front bracket at an angle, which was necessary for the triangular design. Next came the most annoying part of this project, cutting the dados for the adjustable shelves. It would have been way faster and easier to use a router for this step, but I keep my big router at a friend's shop and I don't like to use it in my home workspace because of the mess it makes. So yeah, I used the track saw to cut all 16 dados 2mm at a time. This was tough on my batteries and I was glad when this step was over. With the cutting finished, it was time to put everything together. I started with the rear half of the rack, which was essentially just a big rectangular box. Then I worked from the inside out, attaching the shelf brackets to the middle panel. When designing this, I knew that it would be impossible to fit a drill into such a narrow space, so I opted to use nuts and bolts to attach the shelves to the middle panel. Here I am attaching the front panel to the base, and I was happy to see that it looked like all of my angled cuts were lining up nicely. With the shelves attached, the rest was a pretty straightforward process of screwing the front and back panels into the shelves while trying to keep things as tidy as possible. With the rack pretty much fully assembled, it weighed a ton, and flipping it around like this was a workout. It also took up pretty much all of the floor space in my studio, so I was glad this was a relatively easy, quick build. Some projects drag on for ages, and in a small shop like mine, it can be a real pain working in your own mess and chaos. I'm always looking for ways to keep things tidier and more efficient, and I'm hoping that this storage rack will play a big part in that. And here it is. Oh wait, I forgot about the light switch. I took it down one last time and cut out a square for my bathroom light. There we go. I made some quick and dirty spacers, fastened it to the wall, and called it a day. Here it is in its current form, fully loaded, doing its thing, storing the wood. Oh, and here's a quick sneak peek at that plywood trolley I made, which will be the next video I post. Thanks for watching.